from the wild mind of the Peruvian mixer, producer, platinum engineer, my good friend Reuven. So, Reuven, how did we meet? Do you remember? Was it for our event we did, or?
Oh my God!
Oh, I know. It's when we met. We met on the streets of Miami Beach, right? We went to dinner together.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, we sat down. The two hombres sitting down on South Beach, right?
Yeah.
Having Middle Eastern food together, right? Talking.
Yeah,
That was it. Okay, awesome. And that's when we see the one lone woman sitting by herself, you know, that you imagine.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yes, we tried to figure out what the problem
All
was.
night long alone. I don't understand. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So Reuven is a big, dangerous fan. He has a dangerous system, as we call it, and I want him to answer some questions about it, and I want him really to answer people's questions. So we'll try to drive some humans into the booth here that can ask questions of this great mind. All right. So, what was the first piece of dangerous gear that you got? What was your gateway drug?
It was the Monitor ST. Yeah.
Many people get the Monitor ST as a gateway drug. It's a good way to go. And why did you do that, or what did you find from it?
Well, it was interesting because I already had a very good monitor system, and I always been intrigued by the Monitor ST. I don't know, maybe it sounds silly, but I was intrigued because of the
remote control.
The remote control itself, because I thought that it's always cool to have it just in your hands, you know. And mine was like a big knob in a rack and stuff like that, and was awesome. But you know, so I wanted a tactile experience. And I talking to Bob and said, you know what do you think about this thing? You know, he was explaining to me and said, okay, you have to check it out. So I was mixing and the box arrived. Always, I don't know, for whatever reason, everything arrived when I am in the middle of the process. So it was very easy to connect everything, and I realized that I was having more extension in the top end. The low end was different, but extension, you know. And I was intrigued because I said, what's going on? I mean, the way how my mix was very cool and was very silky and have a nice, you know, top end, but silky, when I mean silky, is like a little attenuation, you know what I mean? And I said, that's not possible. What's going on, you know? So what happened is that the other monitor section was making my mix sound more analog in a sense, right?
Natural roll-off.
Natural roll-off. It was great, but I wanted to have more control and understand the reality of the things. And that was a big part of my decision, but also when you realize the capability of the remote control and all the access that you have for different sources and everything at your fingertips is just, it's huge. For me, it's huge, you know. Remote control, A-beam, and all these kind of things is huge, you know.
Awesome. So being able to hear more of the reality so you can make the decisions, because you can't mix what you can't hear. So
right.
Hearing it all. Open top end. Great. Awesome. So what did you do? What was your next move in Dangerous Land? What intrigued you next? Was it the compressor? Because I remember I think you were one of the beta testers for compressor.
But actually the second piece was the tubas.
Oh, okay. Which tubas?
The classic one.
The original one?
The original one, right, yeah. I really like it. I tried a lot of different summing boxes, very good ones. But I like the low end. And I don't know, everybody believes that sometimes clean stuff is not so good. It's this stupid concept that everything has to be colored and stuff like that. And I love color, but I don't want to be prisoner of a color. I want to be able to put the color the way I want.
Don't be a hostage to color.
Right. So
transparency is the new color.
Yeah, well, transparency is great when it's bold and, you know, transparent in a way that's robust, you know, and not like wimpy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, transparent, musical, and now you upgraded to 2-Bus Plus, right?
Yes.
Okay, and so 2-Bus Plus now gives you the third part of that, transparent, musical, but also with the character at your disposal that you choose.
Right.
So how do you use the circuits that are built in there at all?
Yeah, I use it in a minimum amount, not so much, a little bit. You know, every mix is different, but I like it because you can also assign some of the colors to certain groups, you know, certain stems, and that gives you flexibility because not everything has to be going through that process, you know.
And so when you assign it to the two riches, so when you assign it to one of your stems, are you sending an aux signal to that, or are you sending the full track to that?
No, this really depends. Really depends. I mean,
so both
ways. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe explain why you would use the two different things.
My biggest thing is like when you're working with music, like have more edge, like very edgy music. You know, the sound sometimes of today in many type of music is very edgy, and when you work with indie rock and stuff like that, you need a little bit of harshness in a way. You need to be tough, and I always feel that when you go with the vocals and you have another code or layer of processing at the end coming from the tubas, it's too much, you know. So to be able to disengage that process and put it somewhere else and not going through the vocals is, for me, is a great thing, you know.
Okay, makes sense. And so when you lay out your mix, I know it probably depends, but if you just had to say, I mean, do you tend to stem out a mix the same 60% of the time, or 80% of the time, or 10% of the time?
What do you mean, in general?
Well, yeah, in general, like, you know, your kick is isolated, or your snare, or how do you like to lay out the...
Oh, the whole routing into the summing box?
Yes.
Oof. You know, for me it's very crazy because everything I do, I'm not so fixed with anything, and that's a problem, you know. And some people always have the same thing, but I will say in general, there's a tendency, definitely bass and kick mono. A snare could be, sometimes not. Sometimes I just put everything out of the drum. I mean, not create a kind of drum bass where it's not hitting sometimes the kick or sometimes the snare. It's kind of funny because it's not really a drum bass without the kick and snare. But I like to process sometimes independently. And also go to the center into the analog summing because the mono of the analogs is different than in the box.
Yeah, so I think you were here when I was asking Luca about that also, because he says the same thing. So what are your thoughts about, what do you hear differently when you use mono and analog on the 2-bus plus versus making it mono in your DAW?
Well, what I'm going to tell you is a sensation. It's not technical answer because, okay? But even ironically, I feel that I feel more centered, more isolated from the sides when it's in analog. When it's in digital, I feel like, I don't know, it's not the answer, but make me feel that there's a little bit of expansion, you know, towards the sides, and it's not so focused and so centered like it's in analog.
No, that makes total sense, because Luca was saying also less sides sometimes.
Yeah,
You're saying the exact same thing. Okay, so how did you stumble into the Convert series?
That was a big moment, because even today I don't think that converters are so sexy. Are not. I prefer knobs and stuff like that, you know, and needles. So I remember I was mixing and Bob called me at night, like very late. Hey man, what are you doing? I'm mixing. What's going on? Listen, how are you these days? Are you flexible? For what? Okay, I'm coming. I'm gonna release a new product on the NAMMShow, I think it was, right? And I want you to check the convert and give me your opinion before we really close the deal with anything we could change. And he said, okay, perfect. So he shipped me the box. Arrived the next day. I was already in the moment of finishing a mix, the moment where the mix is done, but you are going to address certain things, certain inconsistencies, stuff. I say, you know what, everything's good, but in this moment the low end sounds like this and should be like that, automation things, whatever. And I got the boxes, I stopped the mix, swap the converters, very easy to do, it was very quickly, hit spacebar, play. Fuck, what's going on? You know, the mix is done. I don't have to do that things. I mean, why? And I was thinking, why? Because I will say that probably will take me like 1 hour to do these adjustments, and I didn't understand why. And the only explanation that I could have is that maybe so the conversion is a pipe at the end of the day. You know, it's a pipe of stereo pairs or whatever you want to call it. In this case, each one is 8 channels, so 8 pairs, right? Stereo. And I felt that the sound was, and like the pipe was bigger. And in a way, it's to say like, it's not that because it's not a compressor or a compression in the compressor at all. But when you have something, certain problems in frequencies, and you put a dynamic EQ, you know, you can massage certain areas and you feel the sound more stable. Well, it's what I felt. I felt that the sound was more stable. The low end was all the time consistent and didn't have this kind of little drops or fluctuations and consistency. This is what I felt.
Oh, consistency. Yeah. That's never heard it described that way. That's cool. Yeah. So those were convert 8s. So 16 outputs, 16 D to A's going into your 2-bus plus, and then you're coming back. Are you monitoring the final path through Convert 2? I can't remember. Do you have a...
Yeah, you can, but I just don't do that so much. I just check what's going on coming back. I use my ears, you know. I have always enough headroom to don't worry about it. So.
Okay. All right, so you're... So how did you get into compressor? Because like I was saying earlier, I remember putting... There was the first time I heard your name. I was like, oh, just put this guy on the compressor, a quote from him on the compressor literature, right. And I spelled your name wrong. So,
that's what we said.
But before it went out, Bob caught it. So
right.
Yeah.
So how I was, well, I got the piece and I used a different compressor for years, and I like it a lot. But when I heard the compressor, it was different. A different experience towards Dangerous, because Dangerous is very clean, and even the compressor is clean, but have certain sound. Okay, you know what I mean? And I just love the way it sounded, how transparent it was in the sense of you don't feel pumping so easily, especially in the 2-bus. I mean, you're not gonna go crazy with that anyway, but certain compressor you have to be very careful. It was effortless, and I love the DNEQ and all the features that really, in a way, makes certain instruments sound more alive. You know, I don't know why, but the DNEQ is, you know, it have this kind of this path that makes the sounds more alive in the edges. You know, and I love that. This is not only a compressor for me in the sense of dynamics, but it's also a tool, a shaping tool of a sound that I like. You know.
And do you use Mike Wells was talking about it, and then I was mentioning Todd Whitelack had told me that they use the output gain or gain makeup on the compressor. Do you use that?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Because I don't know what happened there, but the output knob have so much power, man. Give you this punch that it's just amazing. Yes, definitely.
That's good to know. We're going to have to use that in the marketing materials.
No, it's really, I don't know, it's super power. I mean, you can, I don't know, it's very punchy.
Awesome. And you're a Bax guy too, as I recall.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about Bax.
Bax is easy. It's a Bax EQ. You know, but it's so natural, the boost. You know, you boost and it's just open all the sound. It's so musical. You know, it's a great piece. It's the 10 dead. I mean,
what do you find yourself? Are there certain things you find yourself drawn to using it on? Specific things like some compressors I'll say, well, that's good on kick drum, bass guitar, and male vocal, and nothing else, for example.
Well, I sometimes have printed stuff through them. You know, like with the Bax EQ especially. You know. Sometimes I use the compressor and chain, so I use double compression on vocals to just control, not to get a compressed sound. But mainly I use them for the 2-bus, you know, the Bax EQ and the 2-bus always, and the compressor at the end always.
And do you use the filters, the cut filters?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
How do you leverage those?
Well, it's basically, for me, they do a couple of things, you know. Can make your low end sound tighter, definitely, but also you gain some headroom at the same time. And it's a great combination, because when you feel that your low end is tighter, the sensation of your low end is better already. And the funny thing is that even if you're filtering something, you're having more headroom, and make your low end sound apparently better and bigger. And technically, you are removing stuff. You know what I mean? So it's a cool thing.
I agree, and it's and there's so little phase change in it that it's something you can use frequently, because there are a lot of boxes out there that really mess with your phase. They're not phase coherent, so it's which we like a lot of EQs like that, you know, to move lots of energy or stuff. But
Right.
but the cut filter you want just to take away and not necessarily be part of the sound, just to remove things.
Totally.
And it does it very well. Killer. What else, man? What do you want to tell people? What did you work on recently, or something that you worked on that was fun, or some?
Well, I'm working with the new stuff from a band from Canada. It's called NOIA, this electro indie. That's super cool. We're in the process of checking the songs and you know, taking the final decision to go to production. I'm doing that. I'm working also for the new material of Pony Asteroid from Germany, from Berlin. And a lot of other stuff, but really being focused on the indie market, indie rock, the electro.
And do you like to do the tracking or mixing? What's your favorite part of the process? Are you just a mixing guy? Are you tracking?
I'm mainly a mixing guy. I produce stuff that I really, really like. I am not so open for everybody in the sense, because I really want to love what I'm doing, and it requires a lot of time and involvement. You know, so I just do what I really like, or if I really like the people, you know. And of course, in that process, I record and do everything. But also, sometimes I can be hired to record stuff for other people, like, you know, Jeff, you remember Jeff Giuliano, right? We're friends, and he liked how I record drums, you know, so he referred me to certain projects that we do together and stuff like that. You know, so I recorded a lot of stuff on the PVRIS record also. It's a great band, you know, so always doing certain things, but, you know, more mixing.
Awesome. Yeah, when I was at Jeff's place shooting a video, he said, we asked, hey, do you have an extra microphone just as a backup in case something fails? And he said, I don't have any microphones. I sold all my microphones. I'm not tracking anything. I'm not doing a touch-up track. Nothing.
You have a cheap guitar only, I think, in the wall or something, like a $20 guitar or something.
So I said, well, do you have earbuds you talk through on the phone, on your iPhone? He said, yeah. I said, then you have a microphone.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's
right
true.
on.
Yeah.
Good times. Well, anybody out there love us and have a question? I see you hiding on the edges and the fringes. I showered today. Questions?
Hey, man.
Hey, what's up, bro? If you can talk about a little bit about your vocal process.
Oh, and during mixing, right?
Excellent.
Ooh, well, it really varies, but my philosophy really, the way I do everything when I mix, everything's dry. I never put any reverb effects, never, man. Even I will say to 80% of the process. That's kind of weird. Why? Because I feel that if you can make something sound dry, great, and create a vibe without effects, when you add effects, then the vibes go higher. You know what I'm saying? So in that sense, I start with the mix, with the balance or whatever, EQ, compression in the instruments, and then always put the vocals quickly in certain process, you know, like compression, EQ, or whatever, and just to create certain reference for a room for the vocals, you know. So basically, that's gonna give me more headroom towards the end for space for the vocals sitting in the mix, and then I can mute it or having just in certain level as a reference, continue working with the music, and then at the end. I just continue shaping the vocals the moment I feel I really want to finalize the vocal, and then I just add effects and stuff. But basically, what I do is dynamic EQ. The first EQ is just basically to clean up, to have a more spectral balance in the vocals. Then I do the dynamic EQ and some compressor to get some color, and then the effects. That's it. Very, very simple in a way. Sometimes parallel process could be distortion or saturation or something, depending on what I'm looking for.
Excellent. Well, I think that's pretty good, unless you have anything else you want to say. Anything else that comes to mind?
Before shy.
I think we're good, man.
Perfect. Thank you,
All right,
man.
well,
Thank you for
thank
inviting me.
you, man, for coming and everything. Always. Appreciate it very much.